Hello there, everyone. My name is Jack, and I really like puppets.
Wow, Jack, that's such a cool and intelligent opinion to have.
Thank you, Mr. Hand Puppet.
You know, one of the things that makes puppetry such a unique art form to me is the fact that it allows you to bring so many unique characters to life. I mean, over time, there has been so many puppets that I have just grown to love. You know, some examples like Triumph, the Insult Comic Dog, Jeff Peterson, and you know, like the entirety of the Muppets.
And you know, speaking of the Muppets, recently I've been watching a lot of behind the scenes videos about the Henson Creature Shop. And let me just say, it's been absolutely inspiring for me to see how these absolutely imaginative and creative puppets are brought to life. And let me just say, frankly, I find these videos really inspiring, to the point where I kind of want to make a puppet. I guess the only issue with that is I have absolutely no idea how to make puppets. But I mean, like, how hard could it realistically be? Okay guys, it is puppet time. I'm feeling good about this. For our puppet, just for the sake of keeping things simple, we're just gonna be making a simple monster puppet. And so I got this blue fox fur off of Amazon, and this is kinda gonna be our base for our puppet's body. We're not gonna do anything crazy like adding foam to add shape to the puppet's head, as I think that adds a lot of complexity. And you know, I think I'm already gonna struggle a good bit with the, you know, just like sewing part of this. But for now, I think we can just throw this fox fur to the side because we don't need it yet. What we need is this white felt that I also bought off of Amazon. Listen, I get it. I am buying everything off of Amazon. I'm dependent on them. But like, Joann's went out of business. What are you expecting me to do? The reason why we have this white felt is that I'm actually gonna be making my very own puppet template. Because, well, I could have just downloaded a puppet template off the internet. We are gonna put like a good bit of learning effort into this, and I'm gonna be making my very own puppet template. Listen, I get it. I'm probably overestimating my skills right now. This is probably gonna backfire hard on us. But I mean, like, it's exciting for me to try to make my own puppet template, and so we're doing it.
And I mean, it's not like I'm going into this without any help. A lot of what I'm doing is just gonna be following this video from the Puppet Nerd.
First things first, what we need to do is to kind of figure out what length of puppet we want and how we want it to feel wrapped around my arm. I mean, this is gonna be custom fit, which is like a level of luxury that most people just don't get. You know, one of these advantages to making this puppet myself. I do have to say though, right now this length of fabric is really long, so I think I have to cut it down. Can I just like use my little blade here to cut it? Oh my gosh, when you're just cutting through it by itself, it cuts fast. That's like mostly good straight away. And we just do a little yank apart. Look at that. We have a little square that we're gonna be turning into our puppet template. Awesome. So now that we have this square cut out, we're kind of just gonna figure out our comfortable arm length for this. You know, this is something so simple, and yet I feel like I'm struggling with it. But okay, I have plenty of extra felt. I have room to mess up. We're gonna set this just about, I don't know, here. Seems good enough. Level this out. And I mean, we're just gonna cut this and hope we didn't mess up. You know what they say, measure once, cut twice, because you have plenty of extra felt. It's actually crazy satisfying how sharp this knife is. I just have to put a little bit of pressure on and it just cuts beautifully. It kind of makes up for the fact I don't have any sewing scissors. Probably should have bought those for this video. Maybe would have come in handy. But I mean, come on, who needs them when with this felt you can just... Okay, that wasn't as satisfying as I wanted it to be. These little bits are sticking on. Okay, but I have to say the next thing up is I have to cut like a little angle here to have the shape of the mouth. I'm a bit scared of this step, but like, let's just get to cutting. I mean, there's no way this goes wrong. You know, I'm actually genuinely a bit impressed that I haven't cut myself yet, because this seems like a prime knife for me to accidentally injure myself. But no, we're just cutting these lines. Beautiful. Now here comes the part that I've been kind of dreading, because we're gonna need to actually do some sewing. Luckily for me, I just bought myself this new sewing kit. Wow, unboxing. Whoa, he's irresponsible with his money. But actually this whole kit was only a couple of bucks. So if you just ignore all the child labor that probably went into making this, it was actually a pretty good deal. Okay, let us just clip this up. You know, that's just one of those master sewing techniques that you can come to expect from me. I'm gonna take out this white little thread and I'm gonna hook it up to a needle, because it's sewing time. As soon as I can figure out how to open these needles. I just pulled it open. I might have broken this. Oh, fudge. I just spilled a bunch of needles off to the side of the table. I'm gonna have to clean that up later. But that's a problem for future Jack. The problem for current Jack is getting this thread into this needle. I got big gargantuan fingers. This is not easy.
But despite my struggles, I was eventually able to get the needle threaded.
I mean, look at me. I am already a sewing master.
Well, as long as you don't actually look at my sewing performance, I mean, what the heck is going on there?
Okay, so I just finished this sewing, and frankly, this may be some of the worst sewing that I have ever seen or done in my life. I mean, let's be real, guys. This is like actively coming apart. I also noticed that I most definitely made this sleeve a bit too large. Like, look at how much extra space I have on this. Like, I was meaning to have a bit of extra space on this. But you know, even with that, this is a bit too much for me.
And so, once again, it was back to the cutting board, as I gave our template another quick trim.
Okay, let's pray I didn't cut this too much. Oh, fudge. Oh, fudge. I think I cut it too much. Yeah, look at that. That's only like 4 inches long. My arm is most definitely not fitting in that. I don't even know how I messed up this bad, but I guess we are back to square one.
And so, once again, I went through the process of measuring out, cutting, and then sewing it together.
Okay, let's shove our hand in here now, though, and look at that. We got a puppet. Like, give that a bit of a chin.
I am a waste of Jack's money. He is going bankrupt because of me, and he doesn't even make good YouTube videos.
Can't believe he said that. Well, anyways, before I can even cut any of this out, I frankly need to buy some sewing scissors. I don't know why I didn't buy these earlier, because now I don't just have to buy the pair of scissors, but I also have to wait for them to arrive.
When they finally did show up though, I got to work cutting out and sewing together what would hopefully be my last puppet template. This time, really just trying to make sure that everything was done cleanly and properly. And I mean, look at that, that's actually starting to look like a pretty decent puppet. With the template now made though, I scanned it into my computer so I could trace it out in Photoshop so that I could print it out onto a couple pieces of paper, which I promptly taped together and cut out.
Okay, so now we have my completed puppet template. I'm not sure if this puppet template is gonna work. Listen, I kind of just want to get to the puppet making portion of this video, and if I screw up, we'll make another puppet template. It's not a huge deal. But for now, we ball. It's time to try to make this actual puppet, which means it is time for me to grab our little puppet pelt made from authentic dead Muppets. Oh no, that's awful. What it seems like we have here is that there's plenty of excess, and so I'm gonna kinda cut off this bit to make sure that we have some extra room for error. You know, can make some more puppet in the future if this one ends up terrible. Next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this Sharpie, beautiful, and then we're just gonna start tracing this pattern. I don't know how tight I'm really supposed to try to make this to the pattern, but I'm gonna try to give it some leg room so that I can sew it easier. You know, we have some room for error in the sewing. Wow, he's such a puppet expert. You would think I'm a master puppet builder at this point, but no. First one, baby. Look at that, it's beautiful. You know, putting my hand up to it now, I'm getting kind of iffy. But I mean, I just kind of have to hope, I'm gonna trust, we have extra fur if things go wrong. I think the reason you're supposed to cut with a knife for this and not the scissors is so you don't damage this fur. Cause like, look at how when I cut with a knife, all this fur is like still preserved. Sick, that is the first bit of this puppet done. And the police are after me, oh my gosh. Can't crime stop for a minute? Can't they tell I'm making a puppet? Okay, I'm gonna be honest, this is already feeling kinda rough. But you know, I'm committed at this point, we have to follow through. There would be no point in cutting the other half of this puppet differently. I'd have two sides of a puppet that aren't good and don't fit with each other.
But with that, it was time for me to lock in and to actually get to sewing this puppet. And I mean, I was serious about doing this right. I mean, look at that. I put pins in the fabric so it wouldn't shift while I was sewing. I'm an absolute pro. And you know, while I was actually sewing, I tried to make sure I was actually spending the time to make sure things are being done correctly.
Okay, so we are done with sewing now, and we got our little guy. I mean, look at him. He is just a thing of fur right now, but there is true life in him. Unfortunately, when I slip this guy onto my arm, he doesn't fit that well. Like, it's kind of okay, but I mean, look at how deeply my hand goes back into his mouth. It is honestly not the greatest fit. It's also pretty tight around my arm right here, which is fine. Just kind of interesting. And so unfortunately, I'm gonna have to put this guy to the side, and we're gonna need to make a new puppet template. And by make a new puppet template, I mean steal one from the internet and print it out. Because in the words of a very wise man, if at first you don't succeed, just steal.
And so, for what would hopefully be the very last time, I got to tracing, cutting out, and sewing together our final puppet. And you know what? Looking at my two puppet bodies next to each other, I'm kind of realizing I didn't actually mess up my first one too much. But it's fine. It's fine. We're still gonna use the new one anyways, because heck, it looks just slightly better. And heck, who knows, maybe one day I'll take out the body of the first puppet and finish it. But for now, I just want a finished puppet. Which luckily for me, to do that, it's as simple as tracing a little stencil onto some black felt and cutting it out. And then from there, I would spend what was way too much time trying to sew this mouth onto the body.
Okay, so that was a bit harder than I thought it was gonna be, but you know what? It's fine, because our mouth is successfully sewed into the puppet, and I mean, like, it's starting to come together. Like, you can already see a bit of personality in this puppet just because it has a mouth. Hello, I have no eyes or ears, but they have mouth, and so I have life in me. Oh my gosh, it's exciting. It finally feels like it's all coming together, but our mouth is actually not quite done yet, because essentially what I want is a little plastic plate at the bottom part of the mouth to kind of give it a bit more rigid structure. Now, for this, I have seen people use like a piece of cardboard before, or kind of a flexible piece of plastic, but I think I may have a better solution for our little mouth structure, and that's by utilizing my 3D printer, because I can literally just take the mouth template, make a little custom structure that's made perfectly for it, and then since I put holes in the model, I can just sew it directly into the mouth. This saves me from having to actually glue something to the mouth, because instead of doing that, I can just sew the mouthpiece in. I know gluing is a pretty common method for making puppets, but I feel like glue, when it gets older, gets crusty and gross, and I don't want that. I want this to be a clean and beautiful puppet forever. And so we're gonna stick with tried and true sewing.
You know, I am gonna be honest, I almost instantly regretted making that decision, because this mouth plate was absolutely miserable to sew into the mouth. Like, I genuinely do not have words for how dumb of a decision this was.
Okay, so our mouthpiece, it is now done. And our puppet looks pretty much the same. Except like now I can like move around the top part of the face, and then the bottom part of the mouth still stays normal. Listen, it's not that much of a difference, but it's nice for me. It feels better to puppeteer, and so I'm proud of it. I'm happy with it. It's good. It's good. And now that it's done, all that we have left to do is the eyes. And you know, for the eyes, I actually watched a good couple of videos to see how people typically do puppet eyes, and it's really just done in a variety of different ways. And so I just thought, why don't I just come up with my own way of doing eyes? And so I bought these little felt balls off of Amazon, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna just take our leftover black felt, and we're gonna just punch out little holes and sew them onto the eyes. Listen, I know someone has probably already done puppet eyes this way, but I haven't seen them do it before, so I feel proud of myself for coming up with this. To cut out the eyes, I bought these little hole punchy things, and essentially I just take one of these out, put it on our black fabric, and I'm essentially just gonna slam it down and it will cut it out. Only issue is, I don't actually have a hammer. I'm gonna kind of have to just like improvise one. I mean, I have this old desk chair wheel. This may go horribly wrong, but you know, oh fudge, that is... Okay, the desk chair wheel was not the move. Maybe if I just... Oh, wait. Wait. We grab a pair of sewing scissors and just finish this up. You know what? I'd say that's a pretty decent eye circle. The question is, are we able to easily just sew it onto one of our little eyeballs? I do have to say, I think it's easier to sew this eye than I originally thought it was gonna be. I really thought this was gonna be one of the hardest sewing parts of the project, but so far this is actually probably one of the easiest. Okay, you know what?
That actually looks pretty good.
I don't know, I'm pretty proud of this eye design. Like just a quick look of what it would look like on the puppet. Okay, that's pretty dumb looking. Oh my gosh, that is pretty silly. I don't know, I love it. I love it. It can be a bit derpy of a puppet. We don't care.
Makes me love him all the more.
Okay, so a big thing about puppets and eyes is where you place the eye gives the puppet a certain level of personality. Like putting the eyes right together at the front like this gives the puppet an entirely different look than if I were to per se spread them out more in the back like this. Oh my gosh, this right now kind of actually looks a bit horrifying with how I have the eyes lined up. But I mean, I think you guys get my point.
And so with that in mind, it was time for me to pick out where my eyes were going to be placed and get to sewing them onto the body.
I'm gonna be honest, this is awful. This is absolutely miserable. If I ever even bring up the idea of sewing eyes on again instead of just like gluing them, stop me. It's not a good idea. I mean, like when sewing them on, it's like so tough to get the pupils to line up. Frankly, sewing on the pupils was the easy part. I should have done that once I put the eyes actually on the body. But you know what? It's too late now to change. If the eyes are just a tad bit off-centered, then, I mean, who cares? We'll just say he's intentionally a bit goofy.
But with that, the puppet was finally done. And after a quick little janky haircut, we finally have a final product.
Hello, I am a puppet. Oh my gosh, my eye is drooping. Oh, that does not look good. But I kinda am accepting it at this point. Frankly, maybe if my eye falls off, that guy who made me, he will like actually glue it back on properly. But you know what, for now, I am a finished puppet. Wow, this eye is really drooping a lot.
Oh my gosh, this is actually gonna be a problem, isn't it? Oh, let's just like pop you right there for now. Beautiful. I don't know, I'm happy that I made this puppet. At some point in the future, I am probably gonna take the time to properly glue these eyes on. But for now, I mean, this dude has some personality. I don't know, I'm really happy with this guy though. I'm just happy I made a puppet. And I feel like I'm in that really fun part of the learning stage where you have something physical that you can actually interact with. And you know in the future, when you go to build something new with this new skill, that it's gonna be honestly a good bit better because you have learned a lot new things. Listen, I know this puppet is not the best, but I made him. And you know, it's not the worst thing I have made on my first attempt.
But with that, I shall end this video now because my eye is drooping and I do not want you all to see it fall off, as that would be unsightly. Get it? Because like I would be losing my eye and so I will not be able to see, like, unsightly, because I can't see. Okay, with that, his name is Jack, and this is what he did.